Hey everybody, welcome to CDT day 142. Golly gee willikers, what a day. I think that joke's run its course now. So I woke up this morning and there was a thick fog all over the area. The clouds were still in the sky, like the pieces of the sky I could see through the fog. It was actually warm. I mean, not warm, it was chilly, but I didn't need gloves, I didn't need pants. I was expecting it to be cold, but it was warmer than needing, 2 jackets and pants and gloves and all that stuff. So it rained last night until, when I made the video it was raining. I think it rained until about midnight, maybe a little bit before, maybe 11:30. And it got chilly in the morning, like at 4 or 5 in the morning it got cold, and I think that was from a wind, but I'm not sure. But what it meant was the outside of my rainfly was dry, but the inside was absolutely saturated with condensation. And the foot of my tent was in a low point, and I didn't notice that when I set up the tent. So I had some water underneath my footprint that made like the bottom portion wet. So I got up and packed everything, and I started hiking in the fog. I had to wait till about 7:15 so there's good light, because when you have forest fire smoke plus clouds plus fog, the sun has a difficult time getting through. So 7:15 there was enough light, I felt safe enough to walk, and I started doing so. Hour and a half, maybe a little bit more, it started raining. So this is day 3 of the last 4 that I've been rained on, but there's been rain all 4 days. Just one of those days the rain was off to the side and like sprinkled on me a couple times, but I dodged it for most of the day. I did not dodge it today. So I got hit with rain for a bit, and then it stopped, and then it rained again, and it stopped, and I think it rained a 3rd time. It's the same thing the last few days. Like the clouds are not getting blown out. So you get rained on, and then the clouds get pushed over there, and that gets rained on, and then the clouds get pushed over there, and that gets rained on. Then the cloud gets pushed back over to you, and you get rained on, and then it goes back over there, and then it comes back on you, and then it goes back over there. It's just a swirl show. I don't even know what a swirl show is, but the clouds just swirl around, and they just dump rain. So around 1:30, I started eating lunch at 1, and it wasn't clear, but it wasn't raining, so I was eating lunch, and then 1:30 suddenly the sun broke through, and the clouds started parting, and we got blue skies. And it was warm, and I pulled out my rainfly and got that dry. Like all of my stuff is damp. After 3 of 4 days of rain, there's just a dampness about all of my clothing and belongings, like the tent and everything. I'm sure the fact that this was day 6 out of Helena is probably adding to my clothes being kind of funky. And I got 4 more days till I can get to some laundry, so that'll be smelly. The combination of sweat and rain is always a smelly bit. So the sun broke out, the sky's blue, the clouds are breaking apart, and I'm like, oh, this is great. We're gonna have blue skies and sun today. this afternoon. It's going to be warm. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Maybe I can stop for 10 minutes, pull some other stuff out, and get it dry. Man, we had sun for 45 minutes, and then the clouds came back. And I'm like, where? Like, these clouds were gone. Like, you couldn't see them. They were gone. And then suddenly they came back, and you're like, where the hell did you come from? And then towards the end of the day, around 6, the clouds broke apart again, except for one big cloud that was sitting right in front of the sun, blocking sun where I was hiking. I didn't get rained on, thankfully. Oh, sorry. When the clouds came back, like after lunch, I got rained on. I did not get rained on when that big fat cloud sat in front of the sun at 6 p.m., but I didn't get the warmth of the sun to help dry stuff and warm my body. And there was a cool breeze that came through about that time. And I'm like, okay, tonight's going to be cold. And I descended. There was a lot of ascent today. I feel like a broken record. We were in 5,000 range. I'd have to look it up. I don't know if we were at 5,200 or where, but we ascended to 7,600, and I know we were below 5,600. So it was 2,000 feet of elevation. And then once we got up there, we dropped down a couple hundred feet, went up 300 feet, dropped down a couple hundred feet, went up another 300 feet, dropped down like 500 feet, or maybe it's 400, I don't know, and then went up to 7,400, so went up like 300 feet, and then we had 2 more smaller, like 100 feet ascents. And then there was a huge drop, and the drop has now brought us down into the 5s again. So tomorrow we got to go back up to the 7s, so I don't think it's a 2,000 foot ascent, but it's close. The down and up continues in Montana. So does the rain on me. So I could sit here and complain about the pointless up and downs. I could talk about the rocks on the trail, which were horrendous. I could talk about all that stuff, but y'all don't want to hear it. So here's what I'm going to talk about. About 4:30 this morning, the elk started bugling, which was beautiful. It was beautiful to listen to the elk bugle. And because it was foggy, they continued to bugle until like mid-morning. So I'm hiking, and I just get to listen to elk bugle for 3 hours of hiking. And that's terrific. I ran into 2 parties that were out for some weekend hiking, and they both had dogs. And so I got to pet the dogs, and that was wonderful. I got to talk to the folks and ask them how they were doing and what they were up to. And I got to ask them about the weather. And one lady actually had looked it up, and she said today, for the weekend, today was supposed to be the cloudy, rainy day, and then it was supposed to be clear. So maybe I'll get a couple of clear days. She was looking for the specific area that she was hiking. I'm hiking north. So 2 days from now, I'm not going to be anywhere close to this area, but I'm going to be 50 miles away. So who knows? But I can hope that tomorrow and the next day will be clear. There was a wonderful escarpment that we hiked up to, and the pass that we had to go up and over was right by this escarpment, and it's called the Chinese Wall. I think there's conflicting information. The navigation app says it's 12 miles, but somebody made a comment that it's actually 20 miles. So I'm not sure on the mileage. But it's just one continuous rock wall for 12 to 20 miles, somewhere in that range. Which is probably one of the longest, like, rock walls or escarpments that that we have in the States. They call it the Chinese Wall, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And thankfully, I got to it after lunch. So I got to see it in the sun, which was absolutely fantastic. At the end of the day, I was hiking down, and so I looked up the numbers and I did the math to make sure I was giving you folks correct information. It's actually 132.8 miles from the benchmark trailhead to East Glacier Park, Montana. And that's my next resupply town. I hiked the 4.7 miles yesterday, and I hiked 27.2, I think, today. So I have 100.9 miles left, which means the next 4 days I got to average 25 miles. If I can get a couple of like 27s in there, like I wasn't expecting a 27 today. I was trying to get to about a 25, and then the water sources and places to camp just ended up that I got 27. So if I can get a couple more 27s, that means the last day I can get it down to like 20 miles, and I can get into town in the afternoon, which would be nice. So we'll see what happens. I've also discovered my pack does not like 5 days of food. That weight ends up that weight leads to a lot of complaining. My feet complain, like my pads and my sesamoids. I just don't hike a good speed. My shoulders complain. The pack rides low. It seems that if I put 5 days of food in my pack, it's like it and my body's unhappy. So now that we've gotten a day of food out, and tomorrow I'll have 4 days of food, I'll have to see if it's a little bit more comfortable. And if it is, then maybe hiking 27s is going to be okay. It's also going to depend on like water and food, or places to camp. So at the end of today, I got to a water source. There's no camping. I'm hiking for like a mile and a half. There's absolutely no camping. Like any flat land is got blowdowns all over it. Or it's got overgrown vegetation. Like most of it was actually not flat because we were doing a traverse on the down. So I got to the Rock Creek Ranger Station, and there's a big fat sign on the door that says "No camping here." And so the guard station's over here, or the ranger station. The trail's here, and I don't know if it was the ranger or a through hiker, but on the other side of the trail, someone set up a campsite. And my guess is it was probably all of the dead trees have been cut. So I think it was a ranger recognizing, hey, there's nowhere to camp in this area, so we can either have CDT hikers illegally camping where we've posted a no camping sign, or we can just give them a campsite, like a tent site across the trail, basically across the road, so that they're technically not camping here. So I got down here like 10 after 7. I set up shop on the front porch of the station, cooked my food and ate my food there, so all the smelly stuff's over there, and then walked across and set up my tent. So it's nice to have a little bit of civilization. Like 4% of, like my 4.7 miles yesterday is like 4% of the mileage I need, and then today I got essentially 20%, a little bit less, more, I don't know, a little bit more. So, no, it's 5 days, right? Yeah. So 20%, yeah. So that works out. So I'm hovering around, let's say 21% of getting through this section of Grizzly Country solo. And just having that little guard station over there makes me feel like safe. It's not. I mean, it's not manned. No one's in there. There's no emergency telephone. There's no key to get in. Like a grizzly could come get me in my tent. But for some reason, just having that little bit of civilization, it's like, oh, okay, I might be safe tonight. Just like last night, I camped in an open space after crossing a stock bridge. And I was like, you know what? I don't think a grizzly's going to come out in the open and get me, so I think I'm all right. So I have 5 nights and 5 days in the Bob Marshall Wilderness, which is the heart of grizzly country in this area, as well as, Glacier National Park. And tonight is night 2, and today was day 1. So I got 4 days and 3 nights left after tonight. So hopefully I get through the night all right, and we keep on pressing on. The last thing I'll mention is I did the numbers, like this is the last thing I'm doing, and then I'm going to bed. So I'd already done my logbook for the night, and I have 2,655 miles. So when you hike the PCT, the trail itself, I believe, is 2,660 miles. And then once you pass the border to Canada, it's 8 miles to the lodge on the Canadian side. And so you'll hear hikers talk about 2668 as being the PCT mileage, at least back in the day in 2013. I'm sure there's probably been reroutes and stuff, so the mileage may be a little bit different. But 2668 was the number that I had when I hiked the PCT. So tomorrow, because I have 2655 on the CDT, and I'll hike in the 20s. So let's just say I hike 25. That'll put me at 2680 plus. So tomorrow I will exceed the mileage I had on the PCT. And if we're being technical, there was a fire on the PCT, and I had a gap. There was a road walk, but it was absolutely atrocious. Like 2 hikers did it, and they were like, that was miserable. So I want to say my gap was like 50 miles, somewhere around there. So technically, with 2655, I've actually exceeded my PCT mileage. And this is the furthest I've walked in a single go. So, yay. I was thinking about it, and it's unfortunate. Like, I'm not gonna be able to get to 3,000 miles. And to be honest, like, I wanted to go back to New Mexico and hike New Mexico, but the closer I get to finishing, the less motivated I am to go back down to New Mexico. Part of it is gear. Like, I am nursing this tent door as best I can. Sometimes it works okay. Sometimes it's absolutely a train wreck. I got other pieces of gear that are starting to bust. Like, my compass broke. I haven't been using my compass. It's been in my bag with all my electronics, so it's like safe and secure. Somehow the middle part of the compass, the rod that holds the compass so that it floats, it somehow got pushed in. So my compass broke. I've had to sew quite a number of things on my shorts to keep them together. They're getting holes. These are the same shorts I've worn the entire time, so hats off to them. But the shorts are getting holes. I'm having to sew pretty regularly. Just things are starting to wear out, and I think I'm part of the things are starting to wear out. Like, the thought of going and hiking 300 more miles after finishing right now, that I'm 8 days away. If let's say I take a rest day in East Glacier, so 9 days away, but 8 hiking days away, the thought of 12 more hiking days down in New Mexico is starting to sound less and less enjoyable, but we'll see what happens. I wanted to get to 3,000. However, the fact that I have continuous footsteps and this is an authentic through hike and I've made it to 2,655 and tomorrow I'll surpass the PCT. I'm at peace. I didn't get to do an authentic through hike on the PCT. I didn't have continuous footsteps because that fire gap. The fact that I've walked from Mexico to wherever it is tomorrow I get to, and I've covered the same distance as the PCT. I think part of the ire that was in me is calmed. That's a good thing. The last thing I'll mention actually is because of the clouds, like the storms, and because of me, look, the days are getting shorter, like sunlight wise. The fire smoke and the clouds have been stealing daylight, like an hour or so in the morning and an hour or so in the evening. So I am pressing to get miles and then getting into camp, get my water, get my food. Like, the process I've had to use for the last 6 days since leaving Helena is, as soon as I get to camp, I filter 1 liter of water. I get the food cooking. I let, like, once it's, been cooked and it just needs to sit to steep, I let it steep. While it's steeping, I run over, I set up my tent and throw the stuff in. Like, I don't set up the inside of the tent, I just throw the stuff in. I go over and mix my food because I usually have to mix it after like 7 or 8 minutes. I come over and finish setting up the tent, like throwing the rainfly on and plugging my electronics so they can charge. I run over, I eat and stretch. It's a halfway stretch. It's not a full stretch because by that point, like, it's getting dark and I don't want to eat in the dark. I wash my dishes, get all that packed up, and jump in my tent, and then I'm filtering the rest of my water in my tent and also filming this video and doing logbook and setting up the inside of the tent, all that kind of stuff. It's very rushed. So that's why you're getting a lot of these creepy tent videos. I mean, it is what it is. I will likely have to start filming these at lunch, so that way you're getting like half of the day before and half of whatever day I'm filming it. Or I could just talk about the previous day at lunch. So that's probably what I'm gonna have to do. But we'll see what happens. Maybe if it's clear tomorrow, I can see like what the actual light is supposed to be, and if I can get some clear days in a row, then maybe I can not be as rushed. But these last 6 days, I've had to rush my miles. Like, I haven't had a chance to like sit down and like take a 10-minute break I haven't had a chance to, you know, just say like, hey man, let's get the pack off your shoulders for 10 minutes. It's just been rushed miles to get them in, and then rushed at camp. And then in the morning it feels like a rush because I got to get on trail. As soon as the light allows me to get on trail, I got to get on trail. So, sorry about the creepy tent videos. Ooh. All right. I hope everyone's having a nice weekend. I hope everyone's well. Thank you for watching the videos. I know this one was a little bit longer, but I kind of just wanted to spill some thoughts. So, day 142 in the books. Have a great evening, and I'll talk to you folks tomorrow. Bye.